Hello, I'm Steve. A little about myself. I'm a retired law enforcement officer with 20 years of service. I began my career in the jail, worked the road, and became an investigator. During my career, my training consisted of everything from SWAT to becoming a state certified crime scene technician. I've investigated crimes from thefts to homicides. After retiring and becoming aware of true crime and web sleuths, I started my channel for web sleuths to better understand the perspectives of law enforcement. Not only do we cover true crime, I go out into the field and assist families who have lost loved ones to homicide and their cases are considered cold. Join me as we look and bring attention to these critical cases.
Hello, everyone. Welcome. If you're new to the channel, absolutely appreciate you coming in tonight. And while you're in chat, if you have any questions as we do the presentation, the slideshow, just throw them in chat. I'm by myself tonight. Mrs. Steve is still upstairs celebrating Chase Elliott's victory today during the races. So she's happy and looking forward to tomorrow, which she's taken off all day to watch more races. But anyway, guys, appreciate y'all being here tonight. While you're in chat, be mindful and be respectful of mods, families, and each other. And we're going to be discussing some of the motions in the Delphi case, motions upon motions, and speaking about Judge Gull specifically and what the defense has in mind. And there's I've been brought almost to smiling and reflecting upon one of the things that the defense brings out in the one of the motions, which is true, and it's ammo for them, and they should embrace it rather than use it as a point to showing that the judge is unfair towards them. It's great ammo for them, and I think they should embrace it more in that capacity, but we'll see where it goes as it moves forward. But with that being said, if you have any information regarding this case, absolutely make sure that law enforcement has it, and that the prosecution and the defense, for the fact that we do want a fair trial, and for Richard Allen, regardless of which side that you stand on, guilty or innocent. In our court systems, he is considered innocent until proven guilty. But us as individuals, we don't have to have that standard. We can, have our own opinion of about persons and if they're guilty or not, and express it and base it upon anything we wish to. It's, only the persons that will be selected as the jury pool have to have that ability within their minds of that they don't consider the individual that is facing the charges as being guilty, that they view him as innocent and will view him as that until he's proven guilty in their minds. And regardless if they have knowledge of the case. So anyway, it's a very interesting, if you're new to this case, it's absolutely unbelievable of everything that's going on from the investigation, the overlooked bits of information that has led to Richard Allen not being arrested for, over 5 years. Absolutely amazing of the things that went on. And it's not just this case. We often look back at cold cases and see that the individual who is eventually charged and more often than not found guilty of these crimes was missed or overlooked and had been identified in the early days of the investigation, but for some reason slipped through the cracks. And that's what we have with this case. And the defense, of course, is filing certain motions and bringing up the third party and exculpatory evidence that has been destroyed in their opinions. And that's what we're going to be looking at tonight. All right. Before we get too far into that, though, I want to check in our chat and see what's going on. There's Deborah. Good to see you. Gail Hurd, CJK. And like I say, if you have any questions, just throw them in there. Sensei, good to see you. All right. And Bama Sin's husband at the 50th class reunion. All right. Y'all enjoy yourselves tonight. Olivia too. Always good to see you. Roxy. Hello. Crushing on LA. LA, he's something else. Stay pressed. Good to see you. Michelle, Jill Moser. There's Daily Survivor. That's a great name. Oh, me. Elevate the process. Absolutely. Melissa. Hello. Just trying to get through here, see if any questions have. Copper Horse, as always, great to see you. Mirror. Thank you, Mirror. BGOG. Oh, me. Let's see here. And like I said, if you're new to chat, just jump in here. Everybody's extremely respectful. And like I said, we appreciate everybody being here. Miranda Lee. All right. Let's get back into the presentation. Anyway, we have certain motions that's been filed. We had a couple of motions, and I'm not really into, if you want to go and watch where the coverage is that these motions are read line for line. That's not really, I go through the Steve's Cliff Notes versions of it. I look at the chapters, or as I look at the index, and from the, usually the bold type, regardless if there's any type of index or not, when you go through there, anything in bold is what they're trying to shout out and bring your attention to. And from those topics is I look at those. If something strikes me of interest, I go further into those topics. And that's what I did with both. There's two of these motions. One was filed on the 17th, and I think the other one was filed the 20th, a motion on a motion. And one of them covering about why Judge Gull should be, she should recuse herself, step down, and allow another judge to come in. And then, of course, the other one is some dealing with exculpatory evidence, along with of some other issues that the defense is doing. And when we look at what is the defense doing, I think at this stage, they simply really are just trying to put things out there right now to push the buttons of the judge, and because they're asking for certain things that I don't know if the judge, and I don't know what the law upon it will be, but generally you have to be extremely careful when you tell a judge what they have to do, and that they want certain questions answered and restrictions. Now, I don't know how it is in Indiana, but and there may be case laws and standards and precedents set that these judges have to fall within certain guidelines and answer certain questions. That may well be the case. I don't know, but I can tell you that they're upset that the judge usually just gives them a few words put together and says it's denied, and which they bring up in these motions, and they're not happy with that. They want the judge to lay it out in some type of statement, and if the judge does so, you can count on it that they will overanalyze, and not only that, but it will be public knowledge, so that the social media, which is this what the defense's main course is that we're going to put everything out there. And so if we can get these briefs and these notes made by the judge answering each one of these questions about why you're unfair and that Richard Allen isn't capable of receiving a fair trial under Judge Gull. And everything about our court system and the Constitution guarantees individuals a fair trial. So there's nothing that Judge Gull can do that will absolutely make it where he can't have a fair trial. And if so, there's a process for that. Our court systems and our Constitution guarantees you're going to get a trial. And if anyone steps on your constitutional rights, there's an appeal process. And that process is tough, but it should be. And for the fact that we have laws that guarantee that through the appeal process, if someone is unfair and they step outside the bounds of the Constitution and the laws, you're going to get another trial, or you're going to get your case dismissed. There's going to be something. There's some wave that for the higher courts to correct any issues. And it won't be any different for Richard Allen. So anyone that says that, well, and we don't know, Richard Allen may walk out of this absolutely innocent or not proven not guilty for the fact that, like I said, you're innocent until proven guilty. And so he may be found not guilty. We just don't know yet. And if that is the case, we're going to have to look at who is the guilty party and what part did he play and who played in it, and where are the other offenders, and is it going to be some of these people that the defense is throwing out there? Because in this first one, one of the things you have to look at whenever you're reading these motions, that everything that's filed is goal oriented. So what is the goal of the defense when they file this motion? Of course, it's to notify the courts, one thing, but also it's a way that what we see and have seen of the defense of putting things out there for the YouTube world and for social media to jump on it with both feet and just beat it to death. And we see that with this. And that's how come, like I said, I don't read through everything, but you'll be able to see and through these little notes and highlights. And this first part that we're looking at is more towards what Judge Gull has done as far as being more partial to the prosecution than the defense. And they bring out those points of how Judge Gull has been tougher on them, the defense attorneys, than the prosecution, and that it's all set up. And if that is the case, there's ways of reparations to fix that, and the higher courts will make sure that that does occur. And some of the little highlighted is that the ex parte communications and additional evidence of Judge Gull's favorable treatment to the state of Indiana as opposed to her treatment of Richard Allen and his defense team. Everything from him being housed in prisons, the drive time, the separation, how hard the confinement issues are with him. And I mean, there's a lot of things that they bring up about that, that Judge Gull invited the prosecution to seek limitation on Richard Allen's Sixth Amendment rights to prove that other parties committed the crime in question. And we saw that in one of the previous motions, whereas a lot of things that the prosecution throwed out there that we wish to seek that the court limits what the defense can bring to the table. And while I don't agree with that always either, I kind of wish that everything that could be thrown out there by the defense is thrown. If the state has a strong enough case, it doesn't matter what the defense puts up. The state has the burden of proof. And if they have enough proof to prove that he's guilty, it doesn't matter what the defense is. That what type of evidence that the defense, as far as third party or some type of conspiracy, doesn't matter. And that one of the other things that the defense is upset about is that Judge Gull has repeatedly disparaged Richard Allen's appointed public defenders. And remember this one specifically because towards the end of it, like I said, this one right here, when we've seen several times where she did speak down to them, but they earned that. They were the source of leaks. And now, are there other parties and other things? And of course, has the defense tried to deflect and involve other individuals, even Fig, and when you read these or you watch some of the other YouTube creators, when they go out there and read the documents, you'll see Fig's name brought up, and if that's the best that the defense has right now, then the defense is in trouble, guys. I'm telling you, if you have to deflect to the point of going back and saying that others have done just as bad as what you've done, that is not that does not speak highly of your abilities and the course that you are trying to stay on. That you were, it wasn't your fault. Well, it was traced back to you, and let's not try to deflect to the point that it's just some other YouTuber out there that's creating issues when it's not. It was you. And then we got other examples of Judge Gull treating the prosecution more favorable than the defense. We're almost into almost the family dynamics that Mom, you like Billy Bob because he's firstborn. He's always been your favorite. We're getting to the point of being ridiculous of that, that you have a favorite child, and it's the prosecution. And don't really agree with that. And then Judge Gull treated the defense team differently than she treated her own office regarding allegations of confidential discovery matters. Once again, Judge Gull has multiple children, and the the defense is the black sheep of the family, and it's absolutely unbelievable. And Judge Gull wrongly blamed the defense for the ex parte filings, which were inadvertently directed to the prosecutor, that it wasn't, us that did it. It was someone else, and it was Judge Gull. And I don't know if it was Judge Gull or clerk of the court right now, but I think that's up in the air right now. That the defense motions are treated differently than those of the prosecution. Like I said, once again, you have a favorite child, and it's not us. Judge Gull ignored the defense's request to set aside 2 weeks to present Mr. Allen's defense, while refusing to set any time limits on the prosecution. And that's probably one of the things that I probably would side more with the defense, and we're going to take care of that in the fall of the year. And Judge Gull, it will be, that the defense will get proper time. And I will, and the defense, they won't be able to bring up, as we see what as they do in these documents, that every time that you read these documents, it's rehashing what was in a previous document. And time again, because we saw 4 Franks motions, and we've seen 2 motions for the judge to be dismissed or recuse herself. And so they keep rehashing the same things. Now, when they get into the courtroom in front of a jury, they're not going to be able to do that. There's going to be objections, and there will be sidebars, and they will be certain issues in the court that have to be handled in a specific way and manner, and you just can't rehash the same information over and over again. It'll be, question asked and answered. It ain't going to be where they can just keep bringing up the same topic or same question over and over. But Judge Gull engaged in extrajudicial activities that raised a rational inference of bias, especially when Judge Gull may have to rule on how the extrajudicial activities of a key state witness will impact the admissibility of Richard Allen's purported confessions. And of course, that's with the some of the staff that was within the prison system, of where and that Judge Gull herself had went to and made statements on social media about attending a ball game at the park of Abby and Libby, and that she was there and had met and received, and she made some comments. And then, of course, there is the medical staff that may have made some comments on social media, and that's going to be parts of the issues that have to be addressed. Now let's get back in the chat before I get too far out of here. All right. Don't want to get. Appreciate everybody being here. All right. Hit the wrong button here, guys. Hope I don't ban anybody. Gotta be careful. All right. Nightbot is out here. Melissa Wildcard, good to see you. Let's see. Got any question? Don't want to miss any. Just trying to check, see if anything's popped up here yet. But yeah, with the court systems and everything, everything's going to be settled. There's not, hello, Lee and Susan Train, the CJK, TJ. We don't have to worry about that. Regardless, that if you go to some channels, you're going to see that everything's absolutely unfair. Can't get a fair trial. And our whole court systems are set up to fight that issue. Gail Hurd is not feeling well. Okay. I'm sorry to hear that. Hope you get feeling better soon. Sensei, 5 pounds super sticker. Thank you. There's your blue light. I'll be going on the road in sometime in June, and I appreciate it. And we will be using that. Gibba, good to see you. I hope Jibo or Gibbo. I'll butcher your name, I guarantee you. Maria Torres drove cross country, so missed this past week. I'll be going cross country in just a couple, 3 weeks myself. Let's see, just want to check, make sure we ain't getting too far behind on questions or anything. Boston Christian, good to see you. Mojo Rising. Anyone here that already tried to hurt himself during his yard time this week and was confessing against again afterwards? No, I hadn't heard that. I've been so busy. Is it true or not? I don't know. It says only 1 in 100 appeals are even looked at. If you're waiting for the appellate court, you're already screwed. That's probably, but there is an appellate court and there are appeals, and certain things. This is a high-profile case, and but there is a process, and it's tough to get an appeal, but they are looked at. All these filings are kind of a waste of time for us not directly involved. Absolutely. And it's just something that that the defense is trying to drive a narrative. And they have a narrative that they have to throw everybody else under the bus. And they're pushing buttons on the judge. Now, will it ever get in front of a jury? I don't think so. I really don't think that. I'm starting to feel more and more that they will at some point throw up their hands, and Ruckus may be correct about as far as a plea. So we just have to see. Let's see here. Yes, Copper Horse. Happy Memorial Day weekend and holiday, remembering those who gave the ultimate sacrifice. Absolutely. We must always remember and appreciate all of those who served. Thank you for bringing that point up today, especially. Steve, and boy, is the defense deflecting. In the other motion after this one, you'll see a lot of the deflection um, and and like I said, everything's goal oriented. When they file something, there's a goal in mind, and is maybe not always obvious to everyone. Um, and from pushing buttons of the judge or throwing someone under the bus or to make their narrative that um, if it's the odinous and who is the most likely of the odinous that is involved in all this other stuff, um, which we'll see here. What the heck? An alias command from an alias command. I am reasonably intelligent. I have no idea. Nightbot. We tried to control Nightbot in some shape, form, or fashion, but Nightbot at times just does weird stuff. Oh man. Yeah. Sensei says, it's a Nightbot riddle. Yes, I don't know. Oh man. Thank you, Olivia, too, on the 501. Yes, and we must always remember this, Corgi, that um, the family and you know Abby and Libby are the victims of this, and we must always put them um, as what this whole trial is about. And the family's going through this. It's absolutely unbelievable of what's happening and how easily people are that you can go out there and watch and see that a lot of times you'll hear 2 or 3 hours of something and their names are not mentioned. And we shouldn't do that. We should always remember the victims. Just Gull has multiple children and figures or nephews. Oh man, and he plays along with that. Oh goodness, does he? Uh, every now and then, whenever we speak on the phone, we joke about that. Oh man, Wallflower, good to see you. Unleashed Rainbow, that's a great name. Mustang 65, good to see you. Yes, Sue Pickett. It's in the record. Absolutely. They're setting the stage. Absolutely. Hello, Mustang 65. Witchcraft. I think defense is a joke and they're very disrespectful to the judge. That's my opinion. Absolutely. But they're also pushing buttons. Um, I, Olivia too says it'll be interesting to see how the defense treats Judge Gull during trial. I absolutely don't see them getting along at all. Olivia too, $10. Thank you. Appreciate that. Like I said, we're about to head out on the road soon, and we appreciate that. Shelley has been a member for 20 months. Have you heard anything from the Memphis 3 DNA? No, I've got to actually, I've got to get with a Southern gal. I think we're going to try to collaborate and do a show on that. Appreciate your membership. Mustang 65, $10. Thank you. Appreciate it. That'll go a long ways towards a Waffle House and coffee. $20 months. Excellent. Anna's being bad tonight there. Oh, talking about Nightbot. That's funny. Farmer, $3. Best way to change appearance height? They know, BG. Wallflower. $9.99 super sticker. Thank you. Appreciate that. Just try and get caught up here. Doing pretty good in that. Everybody's been extremely helpful tonight, and we appreciate it. E.T. phone home. Demead, good to see you. Gibbo, Richard Allen has more confession than Usher. Oh, man. All right, let's get back in here. Judge Gull has impaired Richard Allen's ability to defend himself by denying his reasonable request for expert and administrative staff funding. There was budgets made and funding's there, and I know that and when you see these highlights and they're in bold, and when you go, they're talking about that, that they're having to pay out of pocket. But how much money has been allotted to each of them, and is it sufficient to give him a defense? And I think at one point when they were thrown off the case, they even said that they would do it pro bono, but that appears not to be the case now. But evidence that the public confidence in Judge Gull has eroded due to continued improper conduct and conduct that creates the appearance of impropriety. Now, I think when you go into the fine print under that, there was 14 letters and emails or texts or whatever. But, if we've got a case that's known around the world, as they say, this is a high profile case, and they say it in this document, and only 14 letters have come to the judge's attention, I think that's pretty good. I get more than 14 letters, well, maybe not letters, but comments, emails, text messages, you name it. I get all kinds of things from others just with my channel. And of course, I'm nowhere. I can't imagine some of the larger channels and or someone that's in the public eye, such as what Judge Gull is. I think 14 of them out of all the world knowing of this case is pretty good number. Really, I think that's a good number. Judge Gull has refused to order the state to comply with discovery rules to the detriment of Richard Allen. And this is probably the easiest to prove that if this is true, that the state is withholding a discovery, that especially if it's exculpatory, then, and I don't believe it's the case, but it's easy for the defense to say it. It's probably harder for them to prove that. And but if they can prove that, then of course they've got a free run at this here trial. And we'll just have to see where it goes. Uh, of all of these things that were um, brought up in the last in all the motions, this one here is what I referenced earlier when I said that I believe this is the greatest ammo that um, the defense should put in their pocket and keep it there. And because it is a good point, and it's but they using it as it was disparaging to them that Judge Gull has only allowed cameras in the courtroom one time, and at that hearing, when she knew one way or the other that she was kicking attorneys Rosie and or Rosie and Baldwin off of the case, and that's the only time she ever had them in there is for a public firing to ultimate insult against their troubled child, and for the whole world to see them being disciplined, and they should embrace it and absolutely, you know, let it, scream it from the top of their lungs for as long as they can, and for the fact that that would probably play out and have more of impact, because I absolutely agree. I believe that this trial should be in the public's eye from the moment that the bailiff says all rise to the moment that the verdict is read, that we should have full access to these trials. And but I hope they bring this to pass and keep the pressure on, for the fact I do believe that we need the more of it being exposed and in the view of the public, because we have to have that. All right. Now here's the other motion that was filed. I think this one was filed on the 20th, and in this one you can read through it and it rehashes a lot of things, but we get to see what is the goal and what is the narrative that the defense is pushing, and you'll see that there's a name that they mention time and time again, Brad Holder and his son, and then Brad Holder and Brad Holder and Brad Holder and Brad Holder, Brad Holder. And they mention him, and almost, it's every time. And what is the purpose of this? For the fact that they want all the attention, not on Richard Allen, but on Brad Holder. And now this can be a double-edged sword to them, and they have to be extremely careful for what happens if, which there's certain things that we have to look at, and if they're going to use him as being the alternate suspect, they're going to have evidence. It's not just going to be that just because they say, and in the motions you can see where they even bring up that the prosecution filed the paperwork, which they did, that Brad Holder's name can't be brought up. And will they fight that issue? And do they have the evidence to put him there or something? They're going to have to do something other than just throw out there that this, and there were certain issues. I think some interviews were lost, and what's in those interviews. And so I don't think there's a lot of ammo here, but we see where they're heading with it. And it's one individual totally throwing him absolutely under the bus at all costs. Let's see. All right, let me get caught back up here. Trying to figure out here. All right. Yeah. Farmer, he's you just talk as much as you want to, Farmer. Don't worry about it. They keep doing stuff like this. Steve, why don't the judge put the DP penalty on the table? It's it won't be the judge; it'll be the prosecution. And there's a every state has certain methods and certain procedures of how they address and when is that brought to the table, and with it only be brought up after or during the penalty phase. I don't know how it is in Indiana. Is it addressed at what point and what hearing has to be? And but it won't be the judge; it'll be the prosecution that will bring it up. Anna's going out for an invitation for dinner. Well, enjoy your dinner. Let us know what you're having for dinner. Yeah, CJK, you got to be careful. I see monsters. If they were to get a new judge appointed, how much more would that delay the trial? I don't know. I don't know if it would delay it at all. Would they be certain hearings that may have to be readdressed? Possibly. But the judge really, the judge doesn't have to know anything about the case other than whatever hearings have to be heard and whatever motions are brought up. They're there to just to be a referee, make sure that a fair trial can be held. It's not that the judge has decided the opinion of who's guilty or innocent, and that they should know very little about the case and only address what rules of evidence, rules of the court, and make sure that a impartial jury is impaneled. And that's just my layman terms of how I believe that a judge works on it. It's not that the judge has to have full knowledge of every piece of evidence and everything. No, it's just knowing the rules of the court. So I don't think it would hold the case up that much. Mustang 65. I've never been or gotten food from a Waffle House. Well, if I'm ever passing through, if you have one in the area, I will escort you to the Waffle House. I don't know where you're from, but certain Waffle Houses have certain reputations. Outside the grid. Hello. Mrs. Steve's upstairs celebrating Chase Elliott's win today. Farmers, they're getting sidetracked on food right now. Just trying to get caught up in chat and see what's going on. Don't want to get too far behind. Oh, man. I doubt that a judge even opens them. I really do. I would doubt that would be the case. Jean or Jean Barker. Good to see you. Care Bear 2.0. I love your input on this case. Thank you, Steve. Thank you for your 199. Like I said, we're going to be going out on the road and look forward to it. Scott, David, I wish I had Steve for a next door neighbor. My neighbors have fun sometimes. Mrs. Steve, she just stares at me and looks over at the neighbors' houses. Oh, man. Miranda Lee, True Culinary Web. That's what we turn into sometimes. Yes, and that's the thing is absolutely, and I thank you for appreciative of my input. But the point that I absolutely agree with that the people that believe the defense are telling the truth. You know, typically the truth it can be spoken in very few words. You don't need 140 pages. You don't need 20 pages. You don't need 40 pages. You can pretty well say it in a paragraph. And the truth is relatively simple and stands out and easily stated and easily said and easily understood. And you don't have to keep hitting it and hitting it and hitting it for there's a thing about that you have to make a lie believable. You have to state it how many times, and if that's the case, then what you say here is absolutely a telltale sign of that the defense is trying to doing what they're paid to do, but at what expense? Some of the other exculpatory stuff that we have to look at as far as what the defense is filing with the top click and 85-page report and the Elvis Fields and all these other interviews and everything that they can throw out there to make the case to change the name off everyone's lips from being Richard Allen, and they obviously want it to be Brad Hoder. That Richard Allen is not it, Brad Hoder is it, and his associations with these other individuals, and they bring up, in the motion you can see here that if Brad Hoder is in any way involved in the homicides, as the defense believes, this evidence strongly supports, then Brad Hoder's claim, close in time to the homicides, that he never met Abby Williams is understandable. Denying that Brad Hoder, had ever even met Abby Williams could, in Hoder's mind at least, cause the police to take their attention off of Hoder. And so that's their whole goal. Like I said, everything that when these documents are put out there, and we did the same thing in law enforcement, that when we did the interview, we have a process and you can watch interviews and you'll see it of where you try to build that relationship, that rapport with an individual. You talk about how's your day been? What's the weather like? What's going on? How's your family? And you work up all the way to the point, and generally after halfway through, that's when you start seeing the direction and the goal of what the interview is. And even when they file these documents, you'll see that the same, that they have a goal and whatever it takes to get that goal. And then when they get it, they hammer that point over and over and over. That's funny. Fit both your feet in your mouth. And this is a good point that the new judge would make same rulings. Yes, the judges can only make rulings now. Can judges have bad findings and make bad rulings? Sure, but there's a process, and we saw that process work out in this case. The Supreme Court said, "Hold on here. We think that you overstepped your bounds. Let's readdress this issue," and they corrected it. And now that they've corrected it, the judge is making sure that due diligence will be addressed from this point on, and to ensure that Richard Allen has a fair trial. And so it's not like that if Richard Allen is found guilty, that he, from that point on, his name goes into this black hole of docket books that will never be seen or heard again. That won't be the case. People know who he is, and Barbara Hall. Hello, Barbara. Good to see you. You didn't miss it. You're here. Appreciate you coming in. True Crime Web, do you think it will go to trial in October, or do you think it won't happen for whatever reason? Yes, I think it will be probably 2025 if it goes to trial. The more time, and like I said, the more deflection and the more times that we see that the defense is just casting and throwing mud and seeing what would stick. And if nothing sticks, will we see that plea? Very possible. Or they will just continue it until, who knows, 2025, or until the court says, no, we're going to take it to trial. You're going to do something. Crushing on LA. You bought your groceries. Hope you didn't set them on fire on the stove. If you set groceries on fire on the stove, you never live it down. Jonathan Clark, what happens if the FBI refuses to turn over discovery because it may compromise their techniques in other investigations like terrorism? I don't think that anything that law enforcement or the FBI has done, everything has to be through the court systems. The FBI is a domestic law enforcement supporting agency, and whatever information they have, they will go by the guidance of the court. And whatever the court decides, they'll have to go with those guidelines. Now, how long does it take sometimes to get certain information from them? It may not be quick. It may be years. Boston Christian, good to see you. Care Bear, I'm new at chatting and lies. You're doing fine, Care Bear. Glad you're here. I was at the Cracker Barrel yesterday. The Mrs. Steve and the in-laws and I, we all went to Cracker Barrel yesterday. Friday night fish fry for them. I had the old timers breakfast. I live in I live in Indiana. Indy 500 is a huge draw. Does Mrs. Steve watch this race? If it's two cars that crank up and rev their motors, she watches. Steve doesn't borrow a cup of sugar, but rather a roll of outline tape. Chalk. Yeah. Do you have a piece of chalk I could use? When does it become obstruction on the defense part? They won't. They just won't let them. The court will make a ruling and move the trial along. Whatever the findings will be, they'll move it along. Isn't Holder really tall? I don't know, but now they may be, regardless of his height, they may be looking at it, it was a ritual among a group that the Odinist short bus drove there with a group and had that's what they do. If you're part of the conspiracy, where were all the vehicles? How did they get there? Was it a bus? Whatever it was, I don't know. But I'm not in part of the conspiracy that of who was there or whatever. I've been there to the crime scene. And if it happened on that plateau, a lone wolf such as Richard Allen absolutely could commit those crimes by himself. Thank you, Olivia, too, on the Plea Help 501 Tax True Crime Foundation. Yeah, our True Crime Foundation, which is part of our channel, it's the other side of our channel, whereas we have a foundation that will be going out on the road in a few weeks, working some cold cases and also doing a environmental DNA study to see if there is a viable source of possibly using and detecting environmental DNA and locating missing victims of homicides and missing persons in the environment through the watershed and through DNA. But we're about to set out on that study, and we appreciate everyone's contributions for that. And also, that foundation allows us that we go out there and let's see. Back in March, I went. In 2023, we went 19,000 miles last year. In March, I went 6,300 miles this year. And in June, I probably will match somewhere between 6,000 and 8,000 miles. Sometime in June as we move out, June to July. But we appreciate everybody's help on that. Get over here. Let's see. Yeah, Care Bear. And a farmer here says that innocent people, in my opinion, do not point out who else may be guilty. They present their own alibi. Absolutely. And Care Bear is that Care Bear is worried about that. That, and you hear it often, that he absolutely is innocent until proven guilty, and that's all right to have that opinion if that's really your opinion. But it's also fair enough in our society that you can have an opinion that based on whatever evidence you want to consider. Like I said, it's only those that are going to be sitting on that jury that has to have that view. Yes, CJK. Ask Steve about what that takes place in an investigation. Sadly, that things get lost. Yes, we're all human. There's never been a criminal investigation where everything has always everything was collected in a perfect investigation. We see the highlights of those cases, but even in those great cases that we see, and sometimes cases move extremely quickly and arrests are made extremely fast. But even in those, we'll see through the defense's posturing and bringing up things of evidence and conclusions that are jumped to, and what evidence might have been destroyed or missed. But it's not easy. It's not the CSI program that you see on TV, where everything, every little detail, everything is looked at and analyzed in minutes. No, that's not the case. It's I've seen it from when you would send off some type of evidence, and it might be 3 or 4 months before you get it back. And now, of course, even with DNA, it's not that case. They have a higher and quicker turnaround. But it's so hard about working investigations. We're human. Law enforcement guys are your neighbors, your friends, your family. And just because you put on that badge doesn't make you a degree carrying lawyer with the ultimate ability to know all the laws. And it's, as a law enforcement officer, you pretty well, you learned everything you needed to know probably by the second grade. All of our children do. We know what's right and what's wrong. We know when we do bad things and when we do good things. And all our laws and our Constitution is based upon the rights and wrong. And so while it's very simplistic to look at that, everything that we need to know about the law we learned in kindergarten, first, second, third grade, of what is good and bad, and through church. But it is true that if you look at it and you do no harm, you're not hurting somebody, you're not imposing upon somebody, you're not harming them in any manner, then you pretty well get by with just about anything. You're minding your own business, and no one else has the right to step on you and impose upon you. And so it's pretty simple about all of us know what's wrong and what is right. And is it often confused and cluttered by what all the laws are out there now? Absolutely. We have far too many laws that contradict and just cloud the issues. And I wish it wasn't that way. But as a training officer, when you're questioning these new officers and young officers, which some of them could quote the code sections for every law, but and sometimes in those codes, when you read those laws and you get in all that legalese, what's right and wrong gets lost in the words. And it's sad that we've reached that point, but it's really not that difficult. Yeah, I hate that we have so many laws, and it become a clouded issue. Hello, Jennifer. Let's try and get caught up in chat here. Jennifer, I live in Indiana and wish I didn't. It's like going back in time 50 years. I get lost in Indiana. You go up, they don't have road signs. They have some road signs, but I don't know how to read them. code grade here. An impulse stop at a Mexican restaurant plus a live stream. Nice little break. Oh, yes. But they're going, and I think the reason they picked Click's testimony and the odinous theory is for the fact that we have a law enforcement officer that if they can get to the stand that says, hey, I have other suspects other than them, this is who and what. And I think that's the reason they really went with that. That's just my personal opinion of it. Robin B. Oh. And this is probably one of the best statements of tonight. If mistakes were made, it's not indicative of a conspiracy. Man, that we need put on the dollar bill. that there, and like I said, there's so much truth in this form. In this, how many words? How many words we have here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And in 10 words, we have absolute truth. That we, oh, I love that. Sonia Torres, Steve, do you think he can get a fair trial, and why is he being treated in so high security? Every department has to make a, and I've been on those security details. Now, when what we're seeing now, pre-trial, you won't see during the trial. You're not going to see him in orange. You're not going to see him in handcuffs in front of the jury, or the jury won't be allowed to see him in orange and see him in handcuffs and the security detail. That, because it is so, it has such an impact upon a juror's thoughts of innocent and guilt and threats. And so the court just won't allow that, and they shouldn't. But right now, whatever security details they feel there's a reason for it. Is it that they think he may harm himself or others? Probably so. Yes, Scott. Everything that Richard Allen has done to this point has absolutely, he has been the worst defendant that any attorney could ever wish for. He's put himself there. Everything he's made statements, confessed, put himself in the clothing, put himself on the bridge. Everything that he could do, he did. And but then, like I said, he would drive a average defense attorney crazy, and probably has. If RA did make an attempt and continues to confess his guilt, when could a mediator be brought in to be sure his defense is representing his wishes? I'm sure that within the system, he has access to a lot of abilities, and he'll have access to the courts. There's nothing that says he can't contact the court and say that I wish to do certain things. His attorneys don't absolute control him. Mandy, 5-pound super sticker. Thank you. Appreciate your support. I'll use that shortly. Barbara Hall. Thank you, Mr. Steve. I owe you and the foundation, all you guys, my life. Thank you. Barbara, I will get back in touch with you. We've been exchanging phone calls, but I've got to get with you in the next day or two. Thank you. Aquarium 1. Congrats on 13,000, Steve. Happy Memorial Weekend. Thank you. And y'all have a great weekend also. Redfoot, what's up? How you doing? Fair Maiden, good to see you. With today's technology, is it possible that law enforcement could triangulate his height to the nanometer? You know, you would think so, but with pixels, that's the problem. You know, what did NASA and what did Disney and anyone that's had that and that data? But it may just be within the pixels because, you know, when you're looking out that far and you have artifacts and you have a picture, and if it wasn't for the pixels, there's a lot of variables. And do I think that they could get within a couple, 3 inches? Absolutely. Do I think that they could get for the fact that we know it's pixelated, and for the fact that if they could make every pixel absolutely clear, we would have a clear image of his face, and we don't have that. So we know that that's not the case, and certain things can be hidden in a pixel or two. You know, you're talking about an inch or two, and so. But I do think that they could get within a couple of inches of him. Steve, do you think it would be a rough trial because of judge and judge and attorney situation? Absolutely. I think none of the family and none of the children will get along with the parents here. I absolutely believe that they're going to continue to push buttons, and I don't see that if with the current situation that there won't be a mistrial. I really believe that. Red Queen, you're late. No, you're not. You're fine. Crush on LA. Member for 1 month. Thank you, Mr. Steve. Appreciate all your efforts. Thank you. Appreciate your support and membership. All righty, guys. Well, I appreciate everybody being here tonight. And if you have any information on this case, absolutely make sure that law enforcement has it, prosecution has it, defense has it, so that we can have a fair trial and have justice for Abby and Libby. But I appreciate y'all being here tonight. Thank you, everybody, for stopping in. And got another question here. Mr. Steve, you think RA will plead out? There's a possibility. I'm thinking more now along those lines than ever before. For a long time, I thought it's going to go to trial, but I'm closer to believing that there is a possibility of a plea in it now, more than I ever have. But anyway, guys, y'all stay safe out there, and we'll see you soon. Bye-bye, guys.